The October patch of Madden 25 was supposed to be the patch that made this game turn into what it was going to be for the rest of the year. But unfortunately, as EA tends to do from time to time, it landed a little bit flat because it introduced a terrible bug into the game that is manifesting itself all over the field. You're seeing a lot of players around the community saying that this patch needs to be reverted. Honestly, I totally agree with this sentiment. So make sure that you guys are subscribed right here to the Zan Madden YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell so you're notified when I upload to the channel. We upload longs in the morning, shorts in the afternoon. And if you want more, make sure you guys check out my strategy website, gridirongameplans.gg. I actually just dropped my match game plan. That's going to be a great way to avoid this bug I'm showing you guys here in today's video. You guys can take the rules I put forward in the match game plan, apply it into any defense that has palms, quarters, cover 6, cover 9. I show you guys how cover 3 match works, also how to make cover 2 play match coverage. And this can help you guys avoid a lot of the stuff I'm going to show you in this video. Now, the problem with the patch was that EA went a little bit overboard with the way deep zones drop in this game. I think that they thought that if they have this logic that applies to safeties that are down in the box, you make them drop slowly, this was going to make it so players would stop calling dollar. Maybe that's a wrong idea and it's just a bug in general that it was unintended. Either way, it needs to be fixed. The reason players like to walk down safeties in defenses in this game is because the seams are very vulnerable in Madden. So what a lot of players would do is they would come out in dollar and they would call this double safety go, and then they would audible into whatever play they want. So a lot of players would audible into this edge blitz play. And of course, this was the blitz that we made really, really popular in our dollar game plan on Gridiron. And basically everybody runs this blitz now. But the thing is that dollar players would then change the zones that their walk down safeties were playing. And we noticed as a result of the most recent title update that all of a sudden these zones were actually dropping super, super slow. So what you would see is this logic where they could just get lobbed over the top of their head. And honestly, if I had more room there, that could have just been a walk-in touchdown. But you see that there's this shuffling behavior that occurs with these zones that is making it so it's just an easy lob touchdown. Now, when I put this tweet out about this bug, people were talking about, oh, well, you're playing a safety at linebacker and you know, you deserve to get lobbed. I'm not arguing that that isn't a real life thing, that, you know, this depth is going to be problematic to turn. The problem is not that we're getting beat here on this. The problem is that they have no contextual awareness to turn their hips and run until it's way too late. And by the time that occurs, they're going to get lobbed over the top. Now, that was a really, really close example of this coverage playing, but when you actually take this to a game, this bug is way worse than it is in practice mode, which is why I included those clips at the beginning. And there were 4 clips of my safety, not only in a middle third, but also in an inside quarter, also in a deep half. And then I showed you an example where an outside corner on the outside left side of the field, mind you, that player was 90 speed, got burned by an 87 speed wide receiver, and my outside corner did this same bug. So for those of you that are all fixated on the, oh, well, your safety's playing too low, well, you know what, outside corners get impacted by this bug as well. So if you guys have been noticing your deep zones in general getting lobbed in this game, that is a real problem. So again, what you're noticing with this is that really any deep zone that, you know, in terms of the safeties is close to the line of scrimmage, really within, I would say, probably 8 to 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, they're going to do this shuffle behavior, and it's really not going to matter what assignment they're in. So let's say I wanted to do this walk down meta and then turn my defense into like a, you know, like a cover 4. So maybe we're not even blitzing. It's just a cover 4 type defense. Well, the problem you're going to run into is, again, this safety just basically is going to shuffle, and you're going to see that it is from time to time in practice mode, it looks fine, but in a game, it is almost always going to happen where it's just going to get shuffled over the top and you're going to be able to bomb it. And that part is really, really frustrating for a lot of players that are, you know, trying to get stops in this game to watch your deep zone, you know, kind of do this shuffling behavior. Now, the other thing to remember here with this is that we aren't walking the safeties down for the purpose of the pressure. We're actually having to do this because quick passing and high ball seams have been meta in Madden all year long. So if you leave your safeties at standard depth, they're just going to throw a streak right down the middle of the field. But now if you try to take away the quick streak down the middle of the field, they're just going to basically lob the sucker over your head. I mean, you saw right there, that was an outside third. And if not for the fact that my receiver bumped into another zone, just completely randomly, that's a touchdown. And you saw in the last play, for instance, I played the same coverage back-to-back snaps. In one example, he recovered. The next example, he decided he wanted to do the shuffle again. So again, take note of this player. There's no consistency to this happening. You know, in practice mode, this actually happens less than it does in game. But you see in practice mode, you see here, he's shuffling. If not for this guy basically doing illegal contact on this receiver, this is a touchdown, because he is so slow to turn his hips and run. He's going to get run right by. And that is the issue with the game right now. Now, you also factor in that sometimes, depending on, you know, regular defenses, for instance, you get run by as well. This becomes a problem in a lot of facets. So let me give you another example here. I'm just going to call a spread out formation here, and I'm going to not even walk my safeties down. I'm just going to show you where this bug can manifest itself in other facets. Okay. So I want you to take a look at this coverage right here. This is an example of where I'm playing kind of a hybrid version of a cover two, but you see that I've got an outside corner here on the left side in a deep half zone. When your player, as a rule of thumb, is in a deep zone, the more field they're responsible for, the faster they're supposed to turn their hips and run downfield. So it would make sense that an outside quarter, which only guards 25% of the deep side of the field, is going to drop more slowly than maybe a defender that would have to be guarding a third of the field, or in this case, half the field is going to drop fastest because there's more turf to cover, so they need to get back there faster. And what you're going to see here is I'm just going to run a simple streak route, and he's going to run right by that deep half defender and be able to get over the top of his head. Now, right there, I didn't even really lead it downfield with any type of free form, but you can see that these guys are still doing the shuffle phase thing on the outside, regardless of their deep zone assignment. So you see right here, this player, again, you take a look how he's shuffling. And now he's basically stacked by the receiver. And it doesn't matter if he turns his hips at this point, unless he is so much faster than that guy, you're dead. This isn't a press alignment. This is basically 5 to 7 yards off the ball. You know, it's not too close to the line of scrimmage. You know, and to me, that's an issue. You know, you also take, for instance, let's say we were to put our guy into a third, and let's say that we even move him back a few yards. We do this here. I mean, you see the shuffling. Now, right here, he did an okay job and got back. But again, in game, you're going to see completely different outcomes. I'm telling you, in practice mode, the guys actually turn and run better than they do in an actual game. In a game, you're going to notice that these deep zones just randomly decide that they just want to sit there and kind of play like a cloud flat on the outside. And then they turn their hips and run way too late. And then a lot of times with the deep zones in the middle of the field, whether it's an inside quarter or an inside third, they look like they're playing basically a hook zone. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, somebody ran a streak right by me. And it's not just compression. It'll be a trips formation, a slot receiver running right down the middle. Again, I showed you these clips to kind of break this down. So I've got a couple of different suggestions for you. Again, if you guys play zone, you're going to be hard pressed to avoid this. You want to walk your safeties down a little bit, but not to a point where it becomes, you know, lob central. So one of the things that you might do in your defense is go with the cover zero shell, if that affords you the possibility. So when you enter the actual plays for the formation you want, look at the right stick and see if you can choose cover zero. The reason that I say that is that what you're going to notice is the DBs and the safety will pretend it's a cover zero blitz. And that means that the DBs will line up a little bit further back, and the safeties will line up just a little bit closer because they're pretending it is essentially a man-to-man blitz. And what that will do for you is, like, let's go back to that inside quarter adjustment that I was just kind of getting at. Let's say that I was running, you know, like a makeshift cover four. So you run something kind of like this. You see right here, the line of scrimmage is give or take the 25-yard line, and Tillman is lined up on the 30, basically 334, somewhere in between there. So, you know, give or take about 9 yards off the ball here, I would say. With this, that depth is about okay, where even if they do the shuffle, they can still kind of get back in time. So what you might see here is this guy, he does the shuffle, but then you see how he turns and runs. This is more or less what we're looking for. It's when you have the safeties that are walking down way too close to the line of scrimmage that they start to really shuffle for too long. And I think that that's what EA was deterring us from doing with that walk down. Look at where they are. They're so much closer to the line of scrimmage here. And when they're, you know, within that, you know, I would say 5 to 8 yards from the line of scrimmage, that's where you notice that these guys basically become, you know, traffic cones. You're just going to see that they have no idea that they're being stressed vertically. You know, you snap the ball and they, in this case, practice mode bailed me out, but in a lot of other cases, they might not. You might be in a situation where they, you know, they shuffle. This could also be hash mark dependent. You know, sometimes when you're on the short or the wide side of the field, the zones react a little bit differently. And that's the problem that you guys are going to really run into is, you know, it's just so inconsistent. Sometimes on the short side of the field, it's going to be fine. Sometimes on the short side of the field, it's going to not be fine. Sometimes it's going to, you know, work on the short side, but then when you go to the wide side of the field, all of a sudden it becomes an issue. And that's what we're getting at is, you know, in practice mode, again, all these examples where they play great, but you're going to see in game that it's just not the same thing. So what you guys have to do is make sure that you keep your guys, I would say 9+ yards away from the line of scrimmage. That's kind of the sweet spot. I would say try to avoid any situation where maybe if you use the show blitz mechanic, this ends up walking your safeties down too low, because that will be problematic as well. I'll show you another defense where this can actually happen to you. If I were to hit show blitz, which is Y right bumper, watch how these safeties come down super low. Now, again, there's absolutely positively no guarantees that they are going to get back here on this. So let's say that I was running, you know, maybe like a cover 2 to the left, and then I, you know, make shift to cover 3 on the right. This would be, you know, a hybrid coverage. Well, maybe that deep half doesn't get back fast enough. You see right there, I mean, that's exactly what happened. That's a tough cover in center field. So if you're asking this guy to guard the inside pass lead to a receiver on the left, that's going to be tough. But again, looking at Tillman, he got absolutely smoked dropping from that depth. Now, again, I know players are saying, well, Zan, they shouldn't be able to just bail like that. I would advise you guys go watch the Brian Flores defenses. I would advise you to go back and watch some old Lou Anarumo, maybe some older Zimmer type defenses. You know, disguised coverages in which safeties bail out of the box. It's not an unfounded idea that a safety could bail from a slot roll into a deep zone. Really good defenses do this all the time. And in Madden, the fact of the matter is this is now not possible at all. We can't really create confusion in a game that doesn't really afford us much in the way of coverage to begin with. And now with this patch making deep zones of all types just randomly decide to not turn around and run at all, this is becoming a problem for a lot of players. So I wanted to do this video to let you guys know what's going on. If you guys are still struggling with this, I would advise you strongly go over to gridirongameplans.gg. I will also be doing more match content here on the YouTube channel in the short term to help you guys out absolutely free as well. So make sure you guys are subscribed here. I've done some match content last week that'll help you guys out as well. If you don't like your safeties playing deep zones because they're getting lobbed over the top, you've got to do something different. And I promise you match will help you out in the short term and build a foundation for defense for the long term as well. So now's the time, dive in. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, this is Zan. Get the lab in. Good luck.